Where do the Lions sit in the latest ESPN power rankings? I think Lions fans will be happy, that's for sure.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is the Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on this a Tuesday, September 12th and Wednesday, September 13th. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, and please subscribe. Do not forget to subscribe and watch us each and every day on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up on the show today, all positivity and feeling good about this football team. And now getting some rest before the Seattle game coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about that. Some observations that I saw from Sunday and Monday that we didn't get to yesterday with Trevor Sikkema. Also, injury update on Taylor Decker. Concerned. I am definitely concerned about this because I think the Lions offensive line played so well on Thursday against Kansas City. You don't want to afford to lose any of these guys. And there's a drop-off between the starters and the reserves. We'll talk about that today on the program. Also, ESPN's power rankings are out for this week. Where do the Lions sit? Did they crack the top 5? Are they in the top 10? You know they're a top 10 team right now. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Follow us again on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page. Also on Threads at The Real Matt Derry. And like I said, please check us out on YouTube and please subscribe and watch us each and every day. We got to give a shout out to our everydayers that are out there that watch and listen each and every day. We thank you for checking us out and really, subscribing and supporting and everything else when it comes to your Detroit Lions. This team's on fire. People are excited, and they should be when you're mentioning just a contender and everything else when it comes to this Lions team. And people are so excited as the team will host Seattle in the home opener coming up Sunday at Ford Field. I put up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, the Lions vibe, because right now I'm feeling really good. And I think fans are feeling really good. And there's something about, one game and that's it to start a season that you have pause, right? Lions had not won a season opener since 2017. Of course, they had the tie in Arizona years ago and all these things. And so they kind of broke that, hex this past Sunday and everything else. Or was it 2019? 2017, 2019. Regardless, you feel good at 1-0. But I feel really good about this division after watching what I watched on Sunday. And the vibes have to stay positive because you look at the totality of everything that took place and the fact that the Lions beat Kansas City. And then the fact that Hall of Fields, Justin Fields, who, and I coined that nickname months ago, he was terrible on Sunday for Chicago. They got blown out at home by an Aaron Rodgers-less Packers team. For years, Rodgers and the Packers have owned the Bears. Ask anybody in Chicago how sick and tired they are of losing to Green Bay. Here comes Jordan Love, and really his first real start where it's his team taking over everything else. And Jordan Love goes into Soldier Field, and the Packers offense did whatever they wanted against the Bears. The offensive line dominated. The run game with Aaron Jones was really, really good. Love found his groove, throwing for 3 touchdowns. They had a pick 6 off of Fields. And so, yes, it appears after one game, and again, we got 16 more of these to go. But after one game, the Packers looked the part of a team that doesn't want to relinquish the division. Obviously, last year it was Minnesota's, but for years, Green Bay owned this division. The Bears look like the Bears. All right, let's be honest. Offensive and defensive lines got dominated. Fields was pathetic. And then the Vikings lose at home to Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. And as Trevor Sikkema pointed out yesterday from Pro Football Focus, and go back and watch it or listen to it, Kirk Cousins threw for over 300 yards. Justin Jefferson had over 150 yards receiving, and they still lost. And Mayfield and that Bucs offensive line were able to do some things. This was a team a year ago, Tampa Bay, that was horrible with Tom Brady offensively. And so the vibe around Allen Park, and really when you look at the rest of the NFC, and yes, Philadelphia got a win, San Francisco a one in Pittsburgh, Philly won in New England, and Dallas obliterated the Giants. So we got a long way to go. But you have to feel good about the way the Lions, looked Thursday night, can play so much better, right? Offense can be better. They scored 14 points, the offense did, against Kansas City without Chris Jones. Yet, dominating at the line of scrimmage at the end of the football game. The blocking and tackling aspect that we talked about the other day. The improvements that this team has made, the depth that we're seeing on defense, all right, to the point where Brian Branch, the rookie, is playing a lot, and Tracy Walker isn't even getting up off the bench. This is a guy that we all thought, was signing a long-term deal 2 years ago to be a starter for a long time. So vibe is good. The feel is good. But again, I don't see big heads down in Allen Park. I don't think that people nationally are just, yes, people are propping up the Lions and they're excited, but I don't think that it's getting to the folks in Allen Park like, oh, we won one game, we beat Kansas City. Our last 11 games were 9-2. We're world beaters. I don't see it. I don't feel it. This team still feels like there's a chip on their shoulder. It's an underdog mentality. You got the right people in place with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, this coaching staff, and they're going to build off of Thursday. I see them winning on Sunday. And yes, I know many of you in the audience are going to go, oh, Derry's finally going to pick the Lions. Yes, I will pick the Lions to win on Sunday because I think they're a better team than Seattle. I think they remember what happened last year when the Seahawks came into Ford Field and put up over 40 points, and the Lions never forced a punt. They never could stop the Seahawks offense. I don't think that's going to happen again this Sunday. And this crowd and the momentum that this organization has and how packed it's going to be Sunday, how loud it's going to be Sunday, because fans have been dying to get back down to Brush and Adams to see this football team. And I think the sky's the limit. I do. I'm excited about where they're going. And I also look, and I know that the NFC did well against the AFC head-to-head in some of the interconference games this past weekend, including, of course, the Lions beating the Chiefs. But I still look at the NFC as being really, really weak. I do. And yes, Dallas looked great. San Francisco, boy, they put it to Pittsburgh. Philadelphia escaped with a win against the Patriots, went up 16-0, and then kind of sat on the lead that day. But the Lions are going to be right there. And a little bit later on, we'll talk about ESPN's power rankings and where they kind of view Detroit. But I like what I'm seeing right now. And I'm feeling good about where this team is. And I think you should feel good about where this team is. And they can play so much better. Yet they still beat the defending Super Bowl champions in their house last week. So that's a positive. So I'm definitely excited about what's to come with this football team. Locked On Lions today, by the way, brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. I want to get into the Taylor Decker thing coming up next. A little bit concerned about the ankle. Foot was in a walking boot the other night after the loss to the Chiefs. He did not practice today. I want to get into that. We'll go through the ESPN power rankings today as well. But Locked On Lions today is proudly brought to you by our friends. We're going to get to PrizePicks in a second. But what about our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook? Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, everybody who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That is why you get great, incredible offers every time when you're with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, best time is to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything, point spreads, player props, and more. All right. Last night, if you bet on the New York Jets, you felt pretty good about it, right? Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnNFL, or FanDuel.com/LockedOn, and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Shout out to everybody that checks us out each and every day right here on Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts, ladies and gentlemen. Taylor Decker. Lions practice today on a Tuesday. Of course, the week is all screwed up because they played on Thursday. So they got back on the practice field today to get ready for the Seahawks invasion of Ford Field coming up on Sunday. So rather than getting off to their Wednesday usual practice, they got a Tuesday practice in. Taylor Decker last Thursday night against the Chiefs played in all 70 offensive snaps, but today missed practice with what they are calling a left ankle injury. Before practice today, Dan Campbell, or I should say before practice yesterday, Dan Campbell at his Monday press conference said, quote, "He's all right. We'll see." Was in a walking boot after the game on Thursday. Now not practicing today as the Lions come in 5.5-point favorites, according to FanDuel, against the Seahawks. Here's my thing. And I watched this last night with the Jets, right? Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. He gets blistered in the first 4 snaps that he was out there, got hit every time. And then, of course, tore his Achilles, which is really sad. Even if you're an Aaron Rodgers hater or whatever, you never want to see that. All right. But the one thing that we saw from Rodgers and the Jets, and then Zach Wilson when he was out there with the Jets, was just a serious lack of offensive line play and blocking from New York. Yes, they drafted Mekhi Becton in the first round 4 years ago, and he's been a bust. He's their starting right tackle. Yeah, they've gone out and tried to draft in the second and third round some other starters around that offensive line. But for the most part last night, Zach Wilson was under a lot of duress. End of the game, had some time to throw and got better. And, of course, the Jets won on the walk-off punt return last night. But the thing with Decker and this Lions offensive line is it is just the glue of everything that they do. All right. Jared Goff was only sacked 1 time on Thursday night. The Lions O-line under O-line coach Hank Fraley is really good. When you got Decker, you got Jackson, you got Ragnow, you got Vaitai, who I thought played really well the other night and was the highest graded offensive performer from Pro Football Focus, and Penei Sewell. The last thing you need is any of these guys getting hurt. So if Decker is unable to play Sunday against Seattle, most likely thing they'll do is bring in Matt Nelson to play left tackle. That's a big downgrade. Matt Nelson did not have a good training camp. Still made the team. Is a veteran, a guy that you can move to the right side or left side. Who knows? Maybe they move Sewell over to the left. Nelson plays the right on Goff's blind side. But, Taylor Decker is just solid, just real solid. And I don't want anything to happen to this offensive line. If any of the guards go down or the center, you got Graham Glasgow. Yes, but tackles, I'm not comfortable with Matt Nelson. We'll see if Decker can get better throughout the week and get back out there. He played every snap Thursday despite an ankle and foot injury. But now maybe the Lions are being cautious with him, which is the smart move. Now, on the other side, Seattle has major injury concerns with their tackles as well. Charles Cross, their left tackle, has turf toe. Their right tackle, Abraham Lucas, is dealing with a knee injury. So bad right now in Seattle with their depth along the offensive line that, according to reports, Jason Peters, yes, 41-year-old Jason Peters, ex of the Eagles and Dallas, is coming in to sign with the Seahawks. Think about this for a second. We talked about this with Trevor Sikkema yesterday. If the Seahawks are without Lucas and Cross against the Lions D-line and Aiden Hutchinson, this should be a no-brainer on Sunday for the Lions to get to Geno Smith and really wreak havoc, right? Last night, the Jets escaped. Let's be honest. Josh Allen with the 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble was a big reason why New York won the football game. You got to be strong up front. Lions are showing they're building a defensive line through the draft and making some smart signings and retaining players. There's good depth there. So much depth that one of their highest paid players, Romeo Okwara, was a healthy scratch on Thursday against Kansas City. The O-line is as good as it's been in years, right? That's where you win. And so hopefully Decker's okay, and hopefully the Lions can take advantage of Cross and Lucas possibly missing Sunday's game for Seattle, which would be just a giant, giant plus for Detroit, which, as we saw last week, Aiden Hutchinson was in the backfield a lot. Charles Harris was making plays. James Houston is disruptive. John Kaminsky, Josh Pascal. That would be a major mismatch. And we'll talk to Corbin from Locked On Seahawks on Thursday about the concerns that he has with that defensive, or I should say offensive line, a little bit banged up for Seattle after what took place this past Sunday, where the Rams, of all teams, just handled the Seahawks up in Seattle. All right, ESPN.com's power rankings. We will get to that coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. But first, our friends at PrizePicks, the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player star projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is so much fun. I've had fun playing, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You got to do it at PrizePicks. You test your skills on PrizePicks this season. And like I said, you could turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. This weekend, maybe you'd say Justin Jefferson, less than 100 yards, Lamar Jackson for more than one passing touchdown. Do that, give it a try, and win your money. It is that simple. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. They do Taco Tuesday today. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for you. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100 with our friends at PrizePicks. All right, so I love doing this every week. The experts at ESPN.com, it's the Week 2 NFL Power Rankings. Last week, of course, Kansas City was number 1. They are no longer. The Niners are number 1, moving up 3 spots. Philadelphia is now at number 2. They stay there. Kansas City goes from 1 to 3 after the loss to the Leos. At number 4, Dallas goes from 7 to 4. Number 5, Miami, moving up 1 spot from 6 to 5. Dolphins were very impressive offensively against the Chargers this past weekend. Baltimore is at 6. Then at number 7, moving up 3 spots from number 10 to number 7, your Detroit Lions. Lions at 7 in the power rankings. Do you remember how many times we would do the power rankings on this show? And how many times we would talk about 32, 31, 30, 29. Now they're number 7. That's awesome. Jacksonville coming in at number 8. Buffalo number 9. And the Chargers at number 10. This week's opponent is the Seattle Seahawks. They come in. Let me look here. Seahawks come in at number 18. They were 12th last week. They dropped down 6 spots after a bad showing against the Rams last weekend, despite the fact that Bobby Wagner had 19 tackles in that game last week. 19. Green Bay, by the way, at 14 is the closest NFC North team to the Lions, who right now sit at number 7. So the only teams better, ranking higher than Detroit: Baltimore, Miami, Dallas, Kansas City, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. I just love it. I absolutely love it. So, are the Lions going to stay a top 10 team all year? That's the hope. You look at the schedule. You look at what's ahead of them with Seattle and Atlanta, both at home the next couple of weeks, both very winnable football games. At Green Bay for week 4 on Thursday Night Football, which should be interesting. There's no reason why this team can't be 4-0. 3-1 at a minimum, right? And a top 10 team. Can they get into the top 5 and be in the upper echelon with Philly and with San Francisco and Philly and Dallas? Only time will tell. Dallas's defense was absolutely ferocious the other day. And now they're going to lick their chops and get Zach Wilson this coming Sunday. The Lions absolutely can be a top 10 team all year. I truly believe it. As long as they keep Jared Goff healthy. And if Aaron Rodgers being done for the year, and now everybody's talking about the Jets should go out and get Gardner Minshew, or they should sign Nick Foles, or should they bring back Joe Flacco, or is Tom Brady coming out of retirement? Think about the smart move that Brad Holmes made this preseason to go get Teddy Bridgewater and stash him on the bench in case something happens to Jared Goff. Think the Jets would have signed Teddy Bridgewater by now if he was still available? Damn right they would have. Instead, they've got Zach Wilson and the artist formerly known as Mr. August, Tim Boyle. So, all right. We got the crossover coming up on Thursday. We'll have really more of a solid injury report tomorrow on Locked On Lions. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So Lions get set for the Seattle Seahawks coming up on Sunday. We're back again tomorrow.